Hey, what's up guys, and welcome to another edition of the Soda Jerk. As always, I'm your host, Jimbo, and I'm pretty sure a lot of you can guess by what's on my shirt here what we're going to be covering today. That's right, good old-fashioned Coca-Cola. This is a special episode of the Soda Jerk that I'm dedicating to my very, very awesome friend on YouTube, the Cajun Blaze, who's a huge fan of old-school Coca-Cola. Mr. Blaze usually drinks it in a bottle like these that you may have seen. It's kind of the retro look for Coke in the old school 8-ounce glass bottle. You can find it pretty much any grocery store, you know, in the soda aisle. These are pretty ubiquitous these days. First thing, I want to clear up a bit of misinformation about these particular little, they're referred to as baby Cokes. A lot of people think that these things actually, the formula for these is actually different than the kind of Coke that you get in a can. That's actually not true. They think that the baby Cokes come with sugar in them, as in, you know, regular cane sugar, but that's actually not true. I'm going to read you the ingredient label straight from the bottle here. Carbonated water, high fructose corn syrup, caramel color, phosphoric acid, natural flavors, and caffeine. I've compared that to a can of Coke, and it is tit for tat, absolutely identical. I will, however, admit that the flavor in these little bottled Cokes, seems to taste a little bit smoother than it is in the can, but I don't think that's because of what's in the bottle. I think it's because of the bottle. It's just my opinion, guys. I'm not a chemist or a scientist or anything like that. I just think that for some reason the glass seems to preserve the flavor a little bit better than an aluminum can does. I don't know why, but it just seems to taste different. It's not really any better or any worse. It's just different. It's just a little bit smoother. But so that's one thing off the table. You know, that these actually have real sugar, not fructose corn syrup. Not true. These have regular, I'm not going to say old-fashioned, but regular old high fructose corn syrup. Okay, another myth that I want to correct about Coca-Cola is, some of you may not be old enough to remember this, but I'm sure Cajun Blaze does, and I do. I was young when this happened, but I do remember this being in the news. Back in the mid-'80s, I remember it was right around the time that Back to the Future came out in 1985, Coca-Cola was introducing New Coke, which was supposed to be a completely different formula from Old Coke. And this, you know, they made, you know, a huge, you know, to-do about it, you know, like on April so-and-so, you know, we're going to be announcing, you know, something that will rock the foundations of the soda world. And a lot of the, you know, insiders and experts were, okay, they're going to change things up because Pepsi is kicking their ass, which at the time Pepsi was. You know, their share of the market was far superior to Coke's. So Coke figured they had to do something to kind of change things up and, you know, try and get back some of the market share. So they announced New Coke. It had a different formula, and honestly, I'm sure I had some when I was a kid, but I don't really remember, you know, that what it tasted like or whether it tasted any different from Old Coke. I could probably ask my parents about that, because they remember it better than I do, but I don't really remember that part of it too much. But according to the taste test, where they put New Coke versus Old Coke versus Pepsi to the test, it was something like over half of the people in the taste test that they did preferred New Coke. So in spite of the huge backlash, you know, that the public made, you know, they were screaming, you know, like, New Coke is an outrage, you know, we want Coca-Cola Classic back, you know, we will stop drinking Coke if you don't bring it back, yada yada yada. So all this pressure put on the Coca-Cola company, I believe it was in July of that same year. In April they brought out New Coke, and in July of 1985 they reintroduced Coca-Cola Classic as a secondary product, but still kept producing New Coke. New Coke then went on, it was still in production, I think, until the early 90s, is when we were still making. It was a few years after that, maybe late 80s, early 90s. But there's rumors flying all over the place as far as, you know, what the real reasons behind New Coke was. Some people think that they put out a product so bad that people would be screaming for Old Coke and it would drive the sales of Old Coke up, which actually is exactly what happened. The New Coke sales did not take off, but Old Coke, Classic Coke sales went through the roof. So they kind of inadvertently revitalized the company. You know, they were trying to revitalize the company with this new product, but indirectly what the new product did was drive their customer base back to their old product and sent their sales up. So, you know, they did accomplish the original goal that they set out to. They just kind of did it the ass backwards way that they were actually intending to. But Another rumor flying around was that when they reintroduced Old Coke, that the taste was a little bit different than they remember. And some people think that Coke under the radar was doing this on purpose so that they could remove sugar from the original formula, which was in the original Coca-Cola formula, and replace it with high fructose corn syrup. You know, the old folks were swearing up and down, this doesn't taste the same, you know, they've done something to the formula, yada, yada, yada. Well, folks, I've done my homework on this, and did Coke, you know, basically trade sugar for high fructose corn syrup? Yes. Did they do that in this whole new Coke fiasco? No. By 1980, they were actually already at about 50% high fructose corn syrup to sugar ratio. So 5 years before New Coke, they were already starting to introduce high fructose corn syrup. And in December of 1984, they were already 100% high fructose corn syrup in Coke Classic. So that's 6 months, a full 6 months before New Coke came out. Classic Coke, as it's been referred to, already had high fructose corn syrup in it. So that whole thing kind of went out the window. You know, it's an interesting conspiracy theory, but it's simply not true. So, all that being said, you know, for all intents and purposes, a lot of people think that you cannot get a Coca-Cola with actual sugar in it. You know, for the ones that think that it's in here, well, it's not in there, and it's not in the cans, and it's not in the 2 liters. But what most people don't know is that even though you can't really get this easily, as it's not made in the United States anymore, it actually is possible to get a Coca-Cola with regular sugar in it and no high fructose corn syrup. These have become popular lately. Costco sells them in big cases, and there's a store or two around Mr. Jimbo Fox's area that actually carries these by the bottle. This is actually not made in America. These are made in Mexico, if you can believe that or not. But when you read the actual ingredients label, and I'll read it to you, there is no mention of high fructose corn syrup. We have carbonated water, sugar, caramel color, phosphoric acid, natural flavors, caffeine, and then it's got the rest of the stuff in Spanish. But it's basically the exact same ingredients as this, minus high fructose corn syrup, plus sugar. And if you'll notice the difference, 8 ounce, 12 ounce. So, in my entire lifetime, folks, since they were already introducing high fructose corn syrup in 1980, when I was probably less than a year old, I had never had a Coca-Cola with actual sugar in it, with 100% sugar. And when I found this, I was just completely elated. I was like, this is incredible, you know, this is like the freaking holy, you know, the holy grail of soda jerk videos, man. This is old school Coca-Cola that predates my birth. You know, the old original formula that all of our parents drank when they were our age. So, I gotta tell you, I've already had a bottle of these guys, but I wanted to do one of these on camera. You know what, I'm just gonna go ahead and unbottle it, and you'll see what I think. Alright, so here we go. Cheers. Oh my god damn, is that good. Oh, you know, scientists and all these commercials and all these, you know, pro-corn people on television say that your brain can't tell the difference between high fructose corn syrup and sugar. Bullshit. I can tell the difference. And this tastes different from that with high fructose corn syrup. This tastes way better. It's subtle, it's mellow, but it's got this kind of bold hint right at the end where the sugar grabs you. And it's got that sweet taste that, I'm sorry, you cannot reproduce with high fructose corn syrup. There really is no substitute but actual cane sugar. You know, old school sugar from sugar cane. Oh my god. I gotta tell you folks, that's the best Coke I've ever had in my entire life. I mean, there is absolutely no substitute for this. And in a glass bottle, no less. Rock and roll, man. So, if there's a Costco near you guys, and you guys are a big fan of Coke, again, you can buy these by the case. It's kind of weird because half the label is in Spanish, and it says it's made in, it just says in Mexico, it doesn't say where, but I did my homework on these. These are actually made in Mexico. Pretty much if you go south of the Rio Grande, as far as the United States is concerned, this is all they know is Coca-Cola. This doesn't exist down there. This is Coke. So it's kind of as an American, that's kind of sad to me that you can't get what is, you know, for all intents and purposes, real Coke in the United States where it was created. I don't know, man. I mean, it's just, you know, there's been a big rush of people, of soda companies doing, using real cane sugar and stuff like that in their sodas. You know, the smaller companies are doing that. You guys have seen me review many sodas on the Soda Jerk here that use actual cane sugar. And I got to tell you, I think Coke would be really smart for reintroducing that and bringing this back stateside in a bottle, because I know I'm not alone in my love for these, you know, these craft soda pop. You know, I mean, there's a lot of us out there. I mean, I'm not going to say it's as many beer nuts, you know, the guys who like the microbrewed beer, but you know, there's a lot of us who kind of yearn for this old school soda pop stuff in our lives. And I don't know, man. So I don't know, by some freaking miracle, someone who works for Coke is watching this. Coca-Cola, the Soda Jerk says, bring this back home. Bring this back to America. I mean, it's Coca-Cola, for crying out loud. What in the hell is more American than that? I mean, that's apple pie, that's pizza, that's hamburgers, that's hot dogs, that's French fries, and that's Coca-Cola. Goes with all of those things. So, anyways, thanks for watching. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. And again, if you can get these where you are, they are out there. You do have to do some looking, but if you've got a Costco, grab yourself a case and load up on these. You will not be disappointed, I assure you. Well, again, thanks for watching, guys, and as always, cheers.